Hey everyone, Sergio with the Rideshare Guy. Welcome to another episode of Behind the Wheel. Today I'm joined by Stephanie. You're from Santa Barbara, right, Stephanie?
I live in Ventura, but grew up in Santa Barbara and choose to work up in Santa Barbara because of
Okay.
how Ventura operates.
Okay. Well, I know for a fact that Ventura does not have upfront fares. You guys are still under 5 out of 10 restriction, aren't you?
Yes, and it never calculates it properly.
Well, we're going to get into that.
Ever.
We're going to get
Yeah.
into that. So Stephanie is my spreadsheet lady. Um, Let me tell you guys, the stuff she sends me is so well put together that I felt compelled to put her on. But before we get into any of the nitty-gritty, let's have her properly introduce herself.
I'm Stephanie. I live in Ventura, but I grew up in Santa Barbara, specifically in Isla Vista, where UCSB is. And so I work up there for Uber and Lyft. And I was a never lifter until a year and a half ago and actually prefer Lyft now. Lyft was not big. The people that did Lyft were not my favorite, but now I prefer Lyft across the board. And so I work up in a university town, a tourist town, and avoid Ventura because the fares are significantly lower. We don't get paid for pickups anymore, and everything here is a long distance. I often have $1.57 trips that will be 45 minutes plus. So that's why I choose Santa Barbara.
Okay.
And I am a weekend warrior. I prefer the weekend drunk crew.
Okay. So for people who are not familiar, let's say with Ventura County, Santa Barbara, Ventura County is an adjacent county to Santa Barbara County. It's between, so Ventura County falls between LA County and Santa Barbara County. Am I
Yeah.
correct? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So for some reason, maybe you know, I don't know. I've never asked this to Uber. Maybe I will. Um, Everywhere in California, pretty much, I would say 80-90% of California will have upfront fares, which we started in
Mm-hmm.
2022. Upfront fares meaning you know the destination, you know the fare, all that stuff. But for some reason, Uber has chosen not to give that information to the drivers. Why do you think that is, and what do you think about that?
I personally think it's because if they knew the fares in Ventura, they don't take them
Okay.
because you often get trips into Oxnard, and Oxnard doesn't have a freeway,
Okay.
and so you're going to spend 20, 30 minutes to pick someone up to take them 15, 20 minutes and make less than $2. And
Oh,
so they force drivers to accept all of those trips so that trips are done so that they know. And so to me in Ventura, it seems like the reason why it's stuck in Ventura is the fares used to be great and now they are horrendous. And so if you don't complete really 6 out of 10, because at five, it's often you don't
yeah.
get the upfront fare anymore. And so they force you to complete all of these garbage trips in the hopes you have one decent trip. And so what it's doing is a lot of drivers from LA are coming up to Ventura, but now they're mainly going up to Santa Barbara.
Yeah. Well,
And
let
so
me
to
let, let
me,
let's explain to the audience what that means. So, just like in Los Angeles County as well, we used to have something called 5 out of 10, meaning out of the last 10 trips, if a driver accepted five, the next one you
completed.
completed five, not accepted, you're correct. You will be able to see the destination of the rider. If you don't, if you're a cherry picker and decline, and you're
Mm-hmm.
0 out of 10, you're SOL, meaning
Yep.
you don't know where you're going. You're driving blind, just like the old days. But then with upfront fares, they removed that in LA County, but for some reason, they didn't remove it in Ventura County. I still don't know why, but it is
I
debilitating. It is debilitating for a
I
cherry picker.
I really think it's because Ventura County is a money loss. Unless you hit part of Thousand Oaks, Ventura County is a money loss.
Wow.
And so they're doing it to force drivers to do it because back when we didn't have upfront fares, I made decent money in Ventura,
Yeah.
but the per minute per mile rate was higher.
Yeah.
And we had surges.
Yeah.
So we knew come the evening when we had a surge, it would make up for all of the nonsense we had earlier.
Yeah.
And back in 2016, 2017, if I made $40 an hour, it was a low night for me.
Wow. Okay. Well, we're going to talk
Yeah.
about numbers because you're the numbers lady. So, But I forgot to ask you actually. Okay, how long you been doing rideshare? What kind of car do you drive? How many hours a week do you drive? You said you're a weekend warrior. I'm assuming you go all out on the weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Um, and what did you do before you became
So
a gig worker?
I was a preschool teacher,
Okay,
and then I had a daughter with special needs
okay,
that prevented me from working because she could not be in school. And so I started doing Uber, one for my mental health because I had to get out of the house and talk to adults,
okay,
and two, for the money. And I was making enough money where I can just work. Thursday is college night in Santa Barbara. And so I'd work Thursday, Friday, Saturday, some Sundays.
okay,
And I would start normally at 9:30 or 10 after I put my daughter to bed
okay,
and would work until 3 o'clock.
okay.
And that was the shift because then it allowed me to stay home with her during the day and the week and be a mom that I need to be because I
So
became a single mom in that process.
yeah, so you love the flexibility, obviously, that the
I
rideshare.
love the, yeah, I love the flexibility and I actually really enjoy what I do.
Okay,
I have a lot of fun with the students and with the quote unquote drunks. I enjoy it.
okay. I mean, do you feel safe? Do you have, I hope you have a dash cam.
I do have a dash cam now.
Yeah,
I
good.
started with the one from Uber for a little bit, and then for Christmas got myself one of the ones Chris recommended.
Display ride. That's or next R or whatever. But
I forget which one, but it was on sale on Amazon for Christmas.
perfect. Yeah, I mean a female driver, although you're driving drunk college kids mostly probably, still we need dash cams. All
Yes.
right. So I've known you through emails, obviously, I don't know,
Hmm.
probably for a year and a half, maybe a couple of years, year and a
Yeah,
half.
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I met you in person at LAX during the Lyft event where you took hostage Jeremy Bird, the number three guy at Lyft, with your data and spreadsheets and talked to him in person privately for a while, right?
I did,
So
and he took it.
yeah, absolutely did. Yeah, no, I enjoyed that actually, that outing. But so what is on your book? I know what it is, but I want you to explain to our audience what is on your spreadsheet. Why do you do it? I mean, inquiring minds want to know, but I mean, I know, but now I want you to tell our audience what it is.
It started initially with seeing the difference in pay between LA, Ventura, and Santa Barbara County of per minute per mile because when they kept changing how we got paid, I wanted to know how it broke down. And there was many days I felt like I wasn't making any money and is it worth it between insurance, tires, brakes, gas, oil changes, all of that. I wanted to know if it was really profitable anymore. And so I started breaking down every single Monday. I would spend Monday and I would break down every single ride of the distance, the time on the trip, and the total time, because there's often a great variance in that.
Yeah.
I would calculate the per mile and per minute rate, tips, if we got anything extra that we got, I would calculate it. And I would also, it mainly started because when Uber primarily started saying that how much we were making, I said absolutely not. I was part of the days where we made 80% and then 75%.
Yeah.
Now we're making 20 to 30% of the total fare.
So you
And so I
have
wanted,
Okay, so you have your cost basis figured out on your spreadsheet. Obviously, you want to know if you're profitable. You have you plus you said you've been doing this for about 8 years, right?
a little over 8 years, yeah.
Okay, 8 years. So you have this comparison, right? You
Mm-hmm.
create this picture for yourself. Plus, it will help you strategize, right? Where which paying the most, where the most profitable trips are. This is
The
amazing.
season and during the season of what seasons work and when to save up and when to work more and some Tuesdays and Wednesdays are better now
Yeah,
during off season because that's when locals are going out.
yeah,
Um, and I really wanted to. I had someone within Uber contact me because I was posting it publicly
yeah.
and said I was lying, and I broke down every single ride,
They
and I
contacted
showed them.
you? They contacted
Yes,
you? I thought I was
they
the only one.
did.
So they contacted you. They told you you were lying?
They said I was lying, and I broke down every single ride I had. I broke down all of the fare information that we got. I
Interesting.
compared the percentages and how much we got, and I got an apology because when they called me a liar publicly, that we weren't, because for a while, within the past year and a half, we were only getting 20%, if that.
I didn't know
And
about that.
so, yes. And
Oh,
so I started it because I wanted to know 2024 is going to be astonishing when I publicly do that, because how much we're making and what they're charging the riders is vastly different
yeah.
in my area. And it's to the point, after looking at it, I'm not profitable anymore.
Wow.
And I never used to get Prop 22 benefits. I always made significantly more.
Yep.
I was asked to do like the Uber crew before, because
Yeah.
how was I making so much money in my area as a female, late night and older? And I said, and I made tips. I was always in California. I was part of the top 1% or 5% of tip earners, ratings, and all of that. And so they wanted to know how and why.
Yeah.
And I told them.
Okay.
And so I started it really after COVID to see the changes.
Yeah.
And as they changed how the upfront fares and what we can see,
Yeah.
I would change my spreadsheet to that. And I went back to trips that I still had from 2016 and broke those down
Okay.
to
So
see.
let's talk a little bit about
Yep.
that. Let's talk a little bit about the comparison. I mean, you're a veteran, obviously, 8 years is a long time.
Mm-hmm.
You do have the data. I trust your data more than I trust Uber's data. Um, so what have you seen? What is the progression of these 8 years you've been doing rideshare? I know you still enjoy it. I know you're outgoing. What kind of car do you drive, by the way?
I started in a RAV4, but now I have a Prius.
Perfect car.
Yeah.
And I hope it's not new. Uh,
No, it's a 2015, and I primarily do Uber in it so I can write off most expenses.
see what I mean, people? This is the car you need. This is it. For what you guys are getting paid, Uber doesn't deserve
Yeah.
more than what she's driving. Totally depreciated car probably, or mostly
Mm-hmm.
anyway. Expenses are very low. But let's talk a little bit about comparisons, okay? Let's talk, maybe, I don't know, go back as far as you want to go and give me like a snapshot or synopsis of the comparison between then and now.
Is riders are paying significantly more and we're getting paid significantly less, is what it's coming down to.
Okay.
The per mile and per minute rate that we used to get paid to now keeps dropping. And they're not telling us, because they're not telling us the per minute per mile. If you call Uber and you get someone nice, they're going to break it down for you, and sometimes you can see it. But what I've noticed is Ventura County is now at 58 cents a mile. It used to be $1.25. We used to get paid for long distance pickups that were anything over 6 minutes. We now don't get paid for any of that.
Okay.
Um, I thought the fuel surcharge was the biggest scam ever,
Yeah.
because it was just a scam. And so I've noticed as riders are paying more and more, we're getting tipped less and less. Part of it is the economy, and part of it is how much they're getting paid.
Yep.
Every single rider I talk to about it, because I openly ask them what's going on, because they'll complain, is two things. Surge has pretty much gone away.
Yep.
For us, but the riders are being charged to surge.
Yep.
I often have students paying $80 to get back for a trip we used to get $20 for, and then it was $18, then it was $15, and now it's $10 and under for the exact same trip from downtown Santa Barbara to UCSB.
So
So that's been cut in half, but students are paying between $50 and $80, and I'm getting less and less.
yeah, that's a common thing that they do, right? On the back
Yep,
end, they charge multiplier surge, and
yep,
then to us, they show that sticky surge sometimes, or gray cloud or whatever, right?
mm-hmm.
And they don't pay us. I mean, but this is how they became profitable. You do realize that, right? So
Right.
it's not
But it
rocket
comes at
science.
but it comes at our expense, because they think we're getting most of that. And I said, we're not even getting 20% of that. And I will show riders what I get paid,
Yeah.
because I think there needs to be transparency. And if they question it, I'm like, no, really, here we are. I now take screenshots of every single trip request I get, whether I actually get it or not. I take a screenshot of it,
Yep.
because I want to know the information, because oftentimes the upfront fare on the final fare card is different than what I was told.
Yep, that they do that game. They play that game as well. So I'm gonna play the devil's advocate here for a minute.
Okay.
Um, they're gonna say, Serge, it's rideshare, man. It's not rocket science. We're just picking up point A, point B. Why is she bothering doing all those, spreadsheets and this and that? What do you say to these people?
One, on board. And two, I really wanted to see if I was going crazy on the pay and what was going on. And so to me, I had to analyze it and I had to look at what was going on because Uber kept saying we weren't getting paid less and we would be getting paid more. And
Mhm.
I found that to not be the truth. And so I wanted to find out for myself. I didn't want to believe anybody else. I certainly didn't want to believe Uber. And I looked at it. And I have a couple of theories why. One, they get a whole bunch of new drivers that don't know how good it used to be.
Yep.
And they get people desperate doing any ride without calculating if you're making less than $10 an hour, you're not making money.
Yep.
Back in the day, if I wasn't making $35 an hour, it wasn't profitable to me.
Yep.
And I often had hours I would make 50, $60 an hour
Yep.
and go home with $100 to $200 in cash tips every single night.
Yep.
And so it's completely flipped around. They're onboarding way too many drivers, and there's way too many drivers willing to accept pennies because $2 is better than no dollars, regardless if it takes 45 minutes of their time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Where they're trying to push bets out,
having something is better than not having nothing. That's the way they look
right?
at it. They don't look at it as a business, which I know you completely do look at it as a business. And you said it a few minutes ago. You said, I don't think this is profitable anymore. What made you come to that conclusion?
Getting the 1099 from Uber,
Oops. Yeah, you got
I
one last week. Yep. Yep.
yep, for the past 3 years, I have worked more, driven more hours, and made less.
Or the
It's
same.
on paper.
Yeah.
It's on paper. I mean, I've sent you
Yeah.
2023 to 2022.
Yeah.
2024 was even worse.
Really?
And so, yes, it
Wow.
was worse.
Okay.
And
Well,
significant, like by $9,000.
what?
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot for a part-time driver. Wow. Okay.
It is. And what I'm finding is I'm only booked for about half the time I'm actually online willing to accept rides.
So
Where
are you a
before I
cherry
would,
picker or an ant?
well, I've tried the cherry picking to see
Yeah.
if the algorithm would change to give me better rides.
You
And then
didn't?
I've tried accepting every ride I had, hoping I would get the better rides. I don't notice much of a difference in
Okay.
Santa Barbara for it. In Ventura, you're screwed either way you go. So I
Yeah.
try not to work here unless I have to. And so, like this weekend, I did a test on myself to see what I was getting, and it was all the $3 rides, but it wasn't back to back. When I used to have $3 rides back to back in a small area,
Yeah.
I made a lot of money,
Yeah.
um, counting on the surge that would happen later on in the night. And so, to me, I don't notice much of a difference in that in Santa Barbara, but I've had more Prop 22 earnings back into my account than I've ever had before. And either my account is throttled or we're so oversaturated
Yeah.
that I can go half hour, an hour without getting a ride request.
Wow. Yeah, I mean that utilization rate definitely has collapsed for sure. Like before it'd be ping after ping after ping, some
Mm-hmm.
trash, some good, whatever. But now if you're getting two pings an hour and they're both trash, what are you gonna do, right? You have to do something. You have to accept it at some point, and you got to make some money. I mean, you're out there. Um, you
Yeah.
know, so I ask this to every driver I interview. So I'm sure you'll come up with two reasons why you still like doing rideshare and two things that you dislike about doing rideshare.
Well, I was a never lifter until a year and a half ago. And so that's part of the explanation is in Santa Barbara, Lyft wasn't that big, and it was usually tourists from LA. And no offense, tourists from LA, well, and people from LA are very different than Santa Barbara. Santa Barbara's kind, mellow, low key beach
Yep.
town.
Yep.
And so Uber was it for me. A year and a half ago, I did Lyft because I had enough with Uber, and I reported a safety thing of being assaulted, and Uber did absolutely nothing about it
Yep.
except throttle my account and suspend me. Even though I had video, I had a lot of evidence. I had video. I had a police report. Nothing. So I said, "F you to Uber," and did Lyft. I actually now prefer Lyft.
Yeah.
And so I do it. One, my daughter still needs help and does that. During the day, I'm now an education advocate for special needs students in the schools that need help before they get an attorney. So that's kind of my day job. And I do Uber. One, I really do enjoy it for the most part. I really do enjoy it. And the extra money was like my play money now. And sometimes it's just bills because everything's gotten more expensive.
Yep.
So it's twofold. I still need to do it. And I like the flexibility and being able to do it at night. So that was a perk. And I meet great people. I've met great people that have been friends. I've met people that have led to business and become clients. And Santa Barbara is a small town. It's 2 degrees of separation.
Yeah.
And so it's been good for that. So that's why I really enjoy it. It was good money and meeting the people.
Okay.
And it's kind of nice to take people home that are drunk and be safe. I'm not a
Absolutely.
drinker, so
Yeah.
so to me that was like a little perk.
Yeah.
The downside is the pay.
Okay.
Is we're not getting paid for what we do at all anymore, and the lack of support. I think Uber support is absolutely horrendous, and I spend too much time over simple things.
Yeah.
One, because they don't look at the facts, and two, they're just not intelligent enough to deal with it, point blank. And if I had intelligent support that can fix an issue, look at the facts, even video provided pictures, anything, life would be easier. And so, yes, there's a few bad apples, but dealing with those bad apples causes chaos for me with an Uber, of where 2 weeks ago I spent over 20 hours on the phone and hundreds of messages to fix a simple issue that's still not resolved, yet they throttled my account for 4.5 days.
What is
but
it?
I couldn't
What was
work.
it?
Passenger was inappropriate.
And you have dash cam
Had video.
footage?
Yep. Had everything.
You should have sent it to me. Look, I totally agree with you. And by the way, as you know, well, you probably know, Uber watches everything we do, right? Literally, like they literally watch everything we do. I'm gonna make sure specifically I know where to send this interview that we're doing, right? And I
I
think,
think
yeah,
I'll be honest with you. When I've actually escalated it to advanced supervisors where I get someone in America,
yeah.
my account is severely throttled.
Throttle
I
meaning you're
promise.
not getting chips?
Nope. And then I wasn't getting Uber Green trips, and then I wasn't getting Uber X trips last weekend. I had to fight for that. I still am not getting Uber Eats trips after you said to try it.
Yeah.
I've done all of this stuff. I'm not getting any of them. And then people will be like, yeah, we have issues with your account. Yeah, fix it. I was told I would be getting paid because my account should not have been throttled for 4.5 days or calling so much and all of that. Haven't been paid a dime. And so I feel like I'm causing noise at Uber and it's ruffling some feathers and they don't like it.
Yeah, they don't.
But
I'm not their favorite either. But okay. So we have a few minutes
but
remaining.
and I want to have a quick caveat to here.
Yeah.
I think as a female driver, where I work and what I do, Uber claims to take it seriously, and they don't. And I'm not a raging feminist at all, actually. But as a female being assaulted by a man or being inappropriate, whatever it may be, you've seen 1 or 2 of the videos I've posted.
Yeah.
The response from Uber is, "What did I do to deserve it?"
Yeah.
And they do nothing about it. And I feel as a female doing what I do that they just don't care because of the culture of Uber support.
Yeah. No,
and Uber as a whole.
I totally agree with you. I think, every time I bring this up, they say, Serge, it's the scale. We're doing 1.2 million trips per hour. I go, that's bogus. That got nothing to do with anything else, but, we'll see. So we have a few minutes remaining. I mean,
Okay.
obviously you have all the data. You've seen the good, the bad, the ugly now. But let's end up on a positive note. Okay.
Okay.
I certainly believe that a majority of people who are complaining about Uber and still doing it is because they really like what they're doing. Okay. I think the people who like doing Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, whatever it is, they really enjoy what they're doing. Yes, the pay is not there. We know that. But give our audience some advice. I'll give you the floor. Any type of advice. It could be life advice. It could be driving advice. It could be any type of advice.
I think it comes down to a couple of things. Quality of life matters. I would rather do this and do fast food or do some other thing for $20 an hour.
Yeah.
And I like the flexibility. I like the time, and I like that there are days I can make more money.
Yeah.
New Year's Eve, I made more money in tips through my virtual QR code than
Hmm.
I did working. And so that's a benefit. Yes, the pay is atrocious, and yes, how we're treated by Uber is horrific at times. But the perk is I choose my hours, I choose where, I choose when, and sometimes it's good.
Yeah.
Um, and the feedback I get is being funny, being friendly, but standing my ground. I have standards. You're not going to smoke, you're not going to vape, you're not going to drink. We're not going to do some of those things. I will wait for you for somewhere, but you're not going to abuse my time.
Yeah.
Um, Read the room, but I talk to people. I don't have my radio on. It's not a silent car.
Yeah.
Talk and have a conversation. Goes well. Few people don't like it, and so it's quiet. But other than that, that's what I do. I'm often noted for being friendly, a ride hero, all of those things.
Yeah.
One of the smart things I did from Mike on the RSD show is I created a virtual tip jar
Yeah.
that has Venmo and Zelle. And I get more tips that way from either a guest on the ride or they can't tip the max in the app.
Yeah.
And I get more tips that way. So do it. In the 2 months I've had it, I've earned a good amount of money that way.
Well,
Um,
because the pay is so bad, tips have become a appreciable part of a driver's income. Yeah.
and I and and I think just being honest and transparent with riders as to what's going on and what you're going to do, because then it also gives them a reality of what's going on and they can choose. I have been telling more people in Santa Barbara to go to Lyft. Santa Barbara is in Ventura County is heavy Uber.
Yeah.
Until recently, drivers like myself and others are having them go to what was the dark side and choose Lyft.
Yeah.
Because they pay less, but yet the drivers get paid more.
Yeah.
And so I think there's that. If you're a horrible driver and you don't like it, I dress well. I'll do my hair and makeup. I don't get dressed up, but I don't look like a bum.
Yeah.
And they appreciate that because you never know where I'm going to go into and help someone or if something happens.
Yeah.
And that's noted is to enjoy it, because if you enjoy what you're doing, someone having a bad day is going to pick up that you're enjoying it.
Yep.
And it feeds
Attitude is
off of
everything.
that.
Yep. No, you have to have a good
And
attitude doing this. It's not an
yeah,
easy thing to do because a lot of people think rideshare is easy. It's not easy. So my hat's off to you, Stephanie. And here's Stephanie
thanks.
from Ventura County, but drives in Santa Barbara County.
Yeah.
You see Santa Barbara. What are they? The Gauchos? They're the Gauchos,
The
right?
Gauchos in Isla
Yeah.
Vista. Yep.
There you go. I knew that. But yeah, Stephanie is the way she is, right? I met her in person. She calls it the way she sees it. I love that attitude. She has a great attitude about what she's doing. So stay healthy, be safe out there. Definitely we'll keep in touch. And when you're done with your 2024, obviously you'll probably send it to me anyway. But yeah, send me your numbers. Let's see what they look like. Because I am getting a
I
lot of numbers from drivers around the country, and it's the same story everywhere.
Yeah, it's appalling,
Yep.
and I don't see it changing. I I don't see it changing because there's so many people willing to work for peanuts, and I mean I really do think that is Uber's goal, is to get out the veteran drivers that know it, because we're often silenced.
Yep.
Is instead of, hey, thanks for being an Uber driver for 8 years that knows how it goes,
Yep.
we're being silenced across the board because we know how it used to be. And now we have people that are willing to do it for nothing.
Yeah. No,
And
I couldn't
it's
agree with you
sad.
more. I couldn't agree with you more. And economy is not helping. Desperation is out there, But look, you got to keep a good attitude about it.
Yep.
Nobody's putting a gun to anybody's head to do it. But
Nope.
then To us, obviously, we're not doing it, excuse my language, for shits and giggles. We're doing it to make money, and
Yeah.
but we don't control that part, right? Circle of control, we don't have it. We can do the best we can, but I believe with what you're doing, you know, you have improved your own game. I can tell, and I highly recommend you guys do. If you guys do half of what she's doing, as far as her cost, as far as her rates, miles per dollars per mile, dollars per minute, all that stuff, you will be a better driver. You will earn more, incrementally more probably, but you will earn more. So, Stephanie, I
Well,
want to thank you.
and let me add two more quick tips.
Okay.
Is when you have all of that and you get audited by the IRS, I sent
Yep.
them the documentation. I did Mile IQ, and I had all of my information. I sent it to them, and they
Yep.
could not refute it because I
Yep.
had all of the information regarding my actual expenses. Because what they do is they do our gross. Well, that's not what I made. That's what Uber made.
Yep.
So I had to do all of that. And you need to have the extra rideshare insurance on your car. Uber's insurance will not protect you, whether you're assaulted or any of that other stuff. The deductible is $2,000 now, and it's a crap plan. So
2,500.
it's again,
Yeah.
it was 15.
Yeah.
So not too long ago. So the added insurance, Allstate has it for the few insurance companies left in California, but you need to have that added rideshare insurance on your car because it's worth it and it will come in handy. Because if you don't, insurance companies are dropping people when they find out.
Yep.
So I'll end on that is protect yourself because no one else is going to do it, but have a good attitude and have fun.
Yep. Thank you, Stephanie. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Serge.
You're the best, and let's keep in touch.
Sounds good. Thank you, Sergio. Bye.
Thanks for watching this episode of Behind the Wheel on the Rideshare Guy. We've been doing these interviews for the past 6 months with very successful drivers from different cities around the nation. Click here for another episode. Make sure you subscribe and turn on all notifications for other episodes of Behind the Wheel as well as amazing content on our channel.